Pesachim Daf Lamed Gimel continues the discussion what the minimum quantity in order to be chayiv for truma. We had the Tanakama's opinion that said it was a kazayis. Abba Shaul said it was a shava pruta. Rav Papa suggested that Abba Shaul in a dish is really adding on to the Tanakama, that you need both a kazayis and a shava pruta. The Gemara proved that Abba Shaul cannot hold that, and now today we prove that even Rav Papa himself does not hold such a din. We prove this from a lengthy brisa that discusses when you're over in a me'ilah. Within that discussion, we're going to have three different ways of equating me'ilah with shar mitzvahs. We'll conclude that Rav Papa indeed does not hold that Abba Shaul requires both. We're going to continue and we're going to learn out that din, that when if you separate truma, which is already chametz, it will not work because it has to be you give the kohen something that he eats and not something that can just be used as firewood. And finally, we'll discuss squeezing grapes and olives. Is the liquid inside the grape or is the liquid just in the walls of the grape? Which will tie us back to a previous discussion of tutim and remaining that we said, which cannot be used neither for eating nor for firewood. So on Lamabez and Mabez we begin. The Rav Papa is chayzer. He does not hold that Abba Shaul requires both it to be worth a shava pruta and a kazayis from the brisa. The brisa says, when are you over and be'ilah v'chata bishkaga? Only if you did a b'shayik, not b'mezid. The Gemara asks, why don't we have a kal v'chaymer from shar mitzvahs? So the Gemara explains, we can't have a kal v'chaymer. Why not? Because shar mitzvahs you're not chayiv misa, and me'ilah you are chayiv misa. So we must have a pasuk. Now the Gemara says, what exactly is this equation between shar mitzvahs and mi'ilah? So the first suggestion suggested by the Gemara is that by shar mitzvahs you're lo chayiv misa when it's less than a kazayis, whereas mi'ilah you are chayiv when it's less than a kazayis. As we turn along, so on the Gimel and the Beis, we basically conclude our proof with the fact that Rav Papa says that Rebbe must be going with the opinion of the Rabbanan. Why doesn't Rebbe go ask Rav Papa with the opinion of Abba Shaul, which only requires it to be less than a shava pruta, not a kazayis? Clearly, says the Gemara, we see that Rav Papa only holds according to Abba Shaul to be worth a shava pruta and not as well a kazayis. Now we go back to the discussion between the equation between shar mitzvahs and mi'ilah, and two other ways of learning is that both by shar mitzvahs it is a patur of Eina Misasek. Misasek is a patur of Eina Miskavin. Whereas when it comes to Me'ilah, if you're not thinking about something and it's done inadvertently, by accident your hands got smeared by the oil. By accident you put on the wrong coat, you're still chayiv. Whereas by Shar Mitzvahs, if you by accident pulled out the thing that was detached, aside from not the thing that was attached, there would be a patur. Now we go back to previous discussion that when you make truma, if it's chametz, already it's not chal. Why not? Because it says loy, v'loy loy, right? It has to be something which actually has a value to the kohen right now, and not just adds firewood. As we turn on to Lamed Gimel Lamed Beis, we begin the discussion. Yasser Rav Acha bar Rav Avia, anavim grapes that became tamei. He explains you let it squeeze them. Pachas make a peah. What's the reason? Says the Gemara. The liquid in the grape is like an air balloon, a water balloon. The liquid's in the inside. So when you touch the outside of the grape, it does not make the liquid tamei. So when you squeeze it out, that's when it potentially will become tamei. But at that moment, it's less than a peah. Since it's less than a peah, that's the minimum size for a tama. The Gemara asks, why can you even say it's actually a beya? Like we see by tamei meis, that when you squeeze it, that after you squeeze it becomes less than a beya. So the Gemara says, no, that mission is only b'diavad. We're discussing lechatzchila. The Gemara says, I don't understand. Where did the tama go? How can you tell me that the grapes were tamei, but the liquid is going to be tar? So the Gemara says, this is a discussion whether the liquid is mivla bli. According to your question, you see that you hold that the liquid is absorbed into the grape, whereas the original brisa said that the liquid is in the air bubble. It's like a water balloon. Says the Gemara, and I'll prove to you that this must be true. This must be true from the fact that we see that we equate it to tutim and reminding. I'm sorry, so the Gemara answers that you know what you have to say? You have to say that we're discussing a case of grapes that were not hochshar like kabel tama, and it's not a discussion whether it's mivlav li or whether it's mifkar pakid, whether the liquid is as a water balloon, whether the liquid is in the walls of the grape, as we saw a problem from the Mishnah of Tamei Meis. Rather, it must be that we're discussing the grapes which were not a hochshar like kabel tama, and the Gemara proves this for the fact that we've seen that tutim and remind him. This is why we bring down this whole discussion that the tutim and remind him the din was you can't use them for firewood, you can't use them for eating. Says Gemara, why not? Why don't we just say you can squeeze them pachas make a beya? It must be the reason is it's a din of hochshal kabel tama, but the Gemara concludes that Rava says no, maybe it's a gezerah that we're afraid if you keep around those tutim and remind him, you might come to use them inappropriately. Abaye says we're not worried for such a chashash because you put it in a special place. We'll pick up from here in the next chazara tomorrow.